Osgood Perkins' The Monkey, a film which came out a few months ago now, based off a short story by Stephen King, starring Theo James, Tatiana Maslany, and Christian Convery. It has somewhat split audiences. I've seen a lot of people talk about it being tonally inconsistent and
Oh yes.
expecting one film and getting another, but I thought the trailer sold you on what the film was quite well, and I was quite excited to watch this one, especially Osgood Perkins has got a good track record so far. But yeah, we'll just go into our initial spoiler-free thoughts first, and then we'll go a bit deeper into it. But yeah, Tommy, what did you think of this one?
First of all, can I just say, we're really trying to tank the algorithm with this one. The Monkey came out, like 6 months ago? And it's been out of the conversation for a very long time. But we're like, you know what we should discuss this week? We'll not let a line of code dictate what we talk about, I'll tell you that. I think next week we should talk about that Matthew McConaughey movie with dwarves in it.
Oh, hell yeah. That's gonna be our first big watch-along movie, that one.
I think you're gonna let me know that everyone in your family's a midget.
They're not midgets, Carol, they're dwarfs.
Whatever.
Anyway, going back to The Monkey, I heard about this movie, I knew nothing about this movie, and I watched it because you told me to, because I always do what you tell me, Tyler. And what an experience it was.
Had you not seen the trailer for this when it was going around, no?
I mean, I remember seeing the trailer, and I remember being like, oh, this looks fun. I'll probably catch it on streaming when it eventually comes to that. But then it left my mind completely. I saw some reviews of it, but yeah, like the film that just didn't really sound... I mean, I love Stephen King. I love most Stephen King adaptations, so I was happy to watch it. But I was so confused by this movie. I had to do some research on it, right? Because as you said, it's a Stephen King's short story from the 80s, and it's basically like a black comedy horror. It's not really scary. It's mostly funny and absurd.
Yeah. I think I was listening to do you know Mark Kermode's?
Oh yeah, of course. Love him.
The film reviewer, and he was talking about apparently the original script was pitched to Osgood Perkins, and it was a flat out horror film.
All right.
And it was just going to be that tone, but then he was like, this doesn't work.
It's too silly premise, yeah.
Yeah, and added that comedic element to it, which I think helps. But I can relate to a lot of people's feelings when they're saying it's a bit tonally inconsistent, because I don't know whether it delves deep enough into either side. Personally, I didn't find it as funny to really be a great dark comedy or a really good horror. Do you know what I mean?
I totally agree with you. I felt like it wasn't scary enough to be a horror, it wasn't funny enough to be a comedy, and it had these very weirdly, I guess they were not out of place, but were comedy moments that were
I think it was supposed to be a bit out of place. It's supposed to be quite jarring, some of those violent moments.
I'll give an example of what I mean, but maybe first you should tell us a little bit about the story. We can go into it a little bit.
Yeah. So we have the film opens with what's his name? Mark. I'm about to call him Mark S, but what's his real name? Adam Scott.
Adam Scott, yeah.
The film opens with Adam Scott. He's dressed as a pilot.
I was like, oh, big cast in this.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping he was going to be in it a bit more, to be honest. But so yeah, our film opens with Adam Scott dressed in a pilot costume, and he's covered in blood, and he's bringing this toy monkey, that sort of classic one you see with the symbols. Well, this one actually has a drum kit, apparently for copyright reasons. They couldn't use the symbol monkey.
Oh, really?
Apparently, yeah. Which you'd think the copyright would have been gone on a monkey holding symbols by now.
Or they would be happy for people to be like, oh, I want exactly that model of the monkey because I saw the movie and I'm gonna buy it.
Exactly. But so yeah, his film starts. We have Adam Scott's character. He's returning the monkey to this sort of antique shop.
Classic.
And we get a bit of stage setting. He's saying this monkey is evil and it's brought about him only bad luck, and just about when he's about to return it, the monkey strikes the drum and something terrible happens, and that sort of sets up the story. And then we get introduced to our main characters, who are two twins played by different characters when they're two young boys, but later on in the film it's a dual role played by Theo James. But we have twin brothers Bill and Hal. They find their father's old monkey toy in the attic, and a series of gruesome deaths start. And the siblings decide to throw the toy away and move on with their lives. And I think, we start on 20 odd years later and we rejoin the story as the monkey comes back into both of their lives. And yeah, that's kind of the general plot. Very simple premise. It's, what do you call it? It's the monkey paw, basically.
Well, the monkey paw is slightly different because, you have like these wishes, and when you make the wish, the finger retracts or something, and then like when all the fingers retract, something horrible happens to you. So yeah, like there's
Yeah,
something.
I suppose in the monkey paw, typically you get something in return.
Yeah, here it's just murder. It's everyone just brutally murdered.
So I suppose in some ways it still sort of falls into that territory, but yeah, very simple premise, and yeah, that sort of kicks off the story. And I thought, we do spend a lot of time with the boys when they're kids as well, and I thought the two boys,
Yeah, surprisingly long intro. Like the first act
yeah,
takes a long time to get going, to the point that I was expecting the movie to just keep going with them as kids. I forgot about Theo James being in the movie, and also because they seem to be setting up stuff like the mother, Tatiana Maslany's character. Also, you have all these bullies characters that like treat the two, well, mostly one of the twins, very harshly, and you're like, oh, we are supposed to hate these kids because then, the monkey is gonna do something to them.
yes, yeah.
I was expecting all these fucking bullies to be killed in some gruesome ways, but then we jump into the future, like 25 years into the future. I'm like, oh, wait, so those kids, they're not gonna suffer any consequences. They were just assholes for the sake of being assholes.
I suppose it's more just to set up him as a bit of a,
Yeah, loser.
downtrodden. Yeah.
No, I understand all that. And as I said, like I enjoyed the film. It had some great moments, some great deaths, some fun gore, but it just left me with this weird sense of, what am I watching? What are you trying to say? So like I looked it up. I was like, okay, I'm curious about this guy because I wasn't familiar with the name Osgood Perkins.
Have you not seen Longlegs?
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like I saw Longlegs, but I didn't remember the name of the director. So I went on his IMDb page and I was like, wait, the monkey and Longlegs were made by the same guy?
And this guy is Norman Bates' son.
Exactly. And he played Norman Bates as a baby in Psycho 2 in 1983. And he's also playing Uncle Chip in this movie. The sleazy swinger guy who dies the most horrible
really? That was
death
him?
in the film. Yeah. Is stampeded into a
Ah.
bloody chili by wild animals on a hunting
I was gonna
trip.
say, well, I was gonna ask you what was your favorite death scene in the film.
That's the
'cause
one.
that was my one. That was great because initially it's such a good way of doing that practically, having them zipped up in the bag and all these horses running over this sleeping
And then you
bag,
open it
and
for a
then
second and you see this fucking bush.
it's like mincemeat. As soon as they open it,
It's chili.
it was
Yeah, it's
really good.
It's fucking ragu.
Yeah, no, legit. Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. And some of the deaths are better than others. Some of them made more sense than others. It kind of has. I wasn't expecting it to be like a Final Destination movie.
Yeah, it
which
basically
it
is.
kind of turned into. And it was like, oh, once the monkey hits the drum, this thing knocks that thing over, which sets this thing off and then kills that person. And I was like, okay, well, this could be quite fun.
Yeah.
And then that kind of trend got broken quite early on with the mother, who I think is maybe the third death in the film.
Yeah, we have the babysitter. Well, the first guy is like the guy in the shop.
The shop,
Then
yeah.
the babysitter, then the mother, I think. Yeah.
And then she just has a brain aneurysm and just bleeds out of all the sort of facial orifices. And it was like, oh, okay, that kind of breaks the trend of like the monkeys making the environment do things. So I thought that was a bit odd.
She was holding a knife too, so it was weird. Like I felt like she was gonna do something with the knife.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
confusing how she died, honestly, on the first watch. But yeah, like I guess it's like a reflection of how the movie feels as a whole. It's like it's a mixed bag. And at some point I was just in for the kills. I was just waiting for the next big gory moments, and I felt like the best ones are in the first half of the movie, which is not how it's supposed to be. Like it's supposed to
Yeah.
be that the last ones are the best ones. But I feel like the last few deaths were really underwhelming and subpar.
And I thought the final sort of act of the film just was a bit meandering, and it started getting a bit silly, and it started to lose me a bit. And it's quite. I feel like we've said this about so many films recently, but that first act or that first half was a lot better than the second.
Yeah, like also we have this jump into the future, 25 years. The twins are both grown up. They haven't spoken in a long time. One of them, the main twin, let's say, has a son, and the relationship with the son is strained because he doesn't want to see him because he's afraid that something horrible will happen to his family and his friends and all his loved ones. So he's like a bit of a loner type guy.
And he's working in, as like a on a checkout in a supermarket, and his boss
Yeah.
is horrible to him. You got your classic hallmarks of this guy's a loser, basically.
Honestly, man, the two twins were, I think this is my main issue with the film. They were insufferable to me, both as kids and as adults.
Really interesting.
Like they were so annoying. Every character is so annoying in this. It feels like they're making them annoying on purpose so that you are not gonna be sad when when the monkey kills them.
Yeah, it's kind of like how in a Wes Anderson film, how all the characters are quirky.
Yeah.
Then it kind of makes it not quirky if everybody's so weird. You need somebody to be a bit more of a straight man, which, to be honest, I thought Theo James as the older version of Hal was a bit more like that,
Yeah.
and he was probably my favorite aspect of the film. He's a bit more straight and narrow, whereas everyone else around him, except from his son as well, is like you said, is a very wacky character.
Yeah, and this is where we kind of get in those tonal inconsistencies that we were talking about, because I mean the film starts, the opening scene is one of my favorite scenes in the film because it sets up this wacky tone. It's very frantic and fast paced, and you have Adam Scott laying it up for the cameras. It's a fun scene, but then we move into the story with the twins and it's a little bit more subdued, and like you don't really get like a very funny with a question mark bit until I think it's like after the babysitter dies. You have the eulogy in the
Reverend
church.
guy who's like, oh, fuck.
It's like, who's this guy? What is he doing here? Why is he like doing his 5-minute like routine of stand-up comedy in a fucking church? I was so confused because up until that point I felt like the movie was, I mean, not serious, but like a little bit self-serious. Like he was
Yeah.
taking the threat of the monkey and everything that was happening quite seriously. But then I don't know, it felt weird. And then like as we move into the future, I think that kind of problem is exacerbated a bit. I feel like it just didn't click with me. Longlegs did. I really liked Longlegs, which is so weird to think that these two movies were made by the same guy.
I kind of rate that. It's how different they can be. And Longlegs was a little bit disappointing for me because I don't know whether it was the same for you where you're at, but over here it was really heavily marketed, and it was all the quotes were like scariest film of the decade, best horror film in years. And it's really not that. It's not scary. It's kind of a bit silly in places.
Yeah.
And Nicolas Cage is doing the classic, over the top screaming stuff, and people in my cinema were laughing when we went to go see it. And so it kind of has that sort of irreverent tone here as well, but it's just obviously dialed up to absolutely 11 in The Monkey. I don't know whether you've ever seen A Black Coat's Daughter.
No, I haven't.
Because that was Perkins' like breakout feature film, I think, and apparently that was really good. And it's supposed to be like a 90-minute, just straight up really good horror film with good tension. So I've had that on my watch list for a while. But he's definitely a very talented guy. And I think the biggest strength of The Monkey is probably visually. The way they shoot the monkey each time, like they genuinely make the little toy look so sinister. And it's obviously like the motif of the movie, and it never becomes boring when you see it on screen. And it's like it slowly lifts up the drum and starts spinning it around.
And at some point, the camera is on the monkey's arm and it's going up and down as it plays the drum.
Yeah. They managed to keep shooting the monkey in really interesting ways. And just whenever it pops up on screen, you get like a little slow tracking shot on it, the tension really rises, which is hard to do in a film that's so silly, I thought.
Yeah.
So I thought that was probably the strongest aspect. There's a couple of other shots in it which I absolutely loved. I just got a note saying, do you remember there's I think after the auntie dies, when she sets her head on fire and she goes running outside.
Another great kill, by the way.
A great kill, and impales herself on the fillet sign outside the front of the house, and then just it's a quick cut.
The fillet sign. What did you say?
The fourlet, like a selling, like a chicken fillet sign. Yeah.
What the fuck? Okay.
And it's like a straight, quick cut to these like naked trees up in the sky with the red and blue police lights flashing on them, and it was
Yeah.
just such a beautiful shot. So I think that's definitely the strength here, which kept me enjoying the film a lot. And I was like laughing throughout a little bits, and it had me smiling at like the over the top gore. But I'm with you, it did lose me at a point, and I kind of was just like, yeah, was that it?
Yeah.
It didn't really stick with me in a way, and I thought all the characters were quite forgetful and didn't have much impact on myself or the story.
Yeah, the sun was so boring. Like I don't know, man.
It was so boring.
Like as you said, like credit where credit is due. I really like the sound design. The design of the monkey was great. The way it moved was appropriate for a wind-up doll, but still scary and creepy. And they came up, as you said, with all these cool ways to shoot it, which was the thing that they had to nail for the movie to kind of work. So nice kills, nice gore, nothing really scary, funny and absurd to the right amount. But like going back to realizing this is the same director as Longlegs, like I really liked Longlegs. It wasn't as heavily marketed here as it was probably in England, but I did see the the trailer saying this is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. Oh my god. And like you always take these taglines with a grain of salt.
Yeah, that review must have been written by a 4-year-old.
Yeah, because it wasn't that scary. It was actually quite boring in parts, even though I quite liked the movie and I quite liked how boring it was.
It was more of a detective thriller with some supernatural elements involved.
And it's the devil, and I really enjoyed that. But then there were these moments with Nicolas Cage that I found they were supposed to be scary, they were supposed to be intense, and they made me chuckle.
And yeah, I was laughing at it, not with it.
And at the time I felt like, oh, maybe it's just a me thing because I can't detach I love Nicolas Cage, but sometimes you're like you can't detach him from the character he's playing. Maybe he's doing like a very dramatic scene, but it's Nicolas Cage and he's hamming it up and you're like, okay, I can't take you fully seriously right now. But then I watch something like The Monkey and I see the tonal inconsistencies here, and then I'm like, okay, so maybe it wasn't me, it was the movie that wasn't nailing these moments the way it should have. And so Longlegs has the same problem as The Monkey in a different way because it's a different kind of But I feel like maybe there's some connective tissue there, like in the way I reacted to that, but I enjoyed it because I love the story more. And here I was like, I just can't get into it because the characters are so unlikable. It just jumps between tones like very abruptly, and I think that's the point, to get a laugh out of you or a reaction out of you. And I think it works in parts, but it doesn't always work, and it's a bit confusing. It's structured weirdly. As I said, that the intro is way too long, and it's not really the end of Act 1 when we jump to present day, and it's not the midpoint either. So like as a screenwriting guy, I'm always looking at these things and be like, wait, this is a weird choice, like structurally I'm not following you. I don't know.
Yeah. It was a bit unconventional in its like structure and the way it told the story, and yeah, it didn't quite work for me. I thought Theo James in it was good. I've never seen him in anything else. Have you?
I saw him and I was like, oh, is this James Franco light? Like, we can't use James Franco in movies anymore, so we're gonna use this guy.
I was loving. He does a lot of voiceovers, and we do a lot of flashbacks, and like, oh, well, we'll show you. When they talk about, the Uncle Chip dying, Theo James or Theo James' character Hal does a voiceover telling you about these things, and he's got a very good voice.
Great voice, yeah.
Great voice. And it almost like, because I think you hear his voiceover before you see him, and it's one of those situations where when you have like you're listening to a voice actor and then you see what they look like in person, you're like, oh, I was not expecting that voice to come from that person.
Yeah, same.
He's got like the voice of like a like Butcher, like a Carl Urban's character from The Boys or something, like a very gruff. And then he turns out to be this, like, the first shot of him is this kind of like weedy looking dude at the supermarket counter. I was like, what? This is really jarring to me.
I didn't expect that voice from him. Yeah.
And then his evil version, or his twin, who becomes a lunatic by the end. He's also a bastard when he's young as well. So he plays him really silly. I don't know. I was kind of hoping to get a more sinister performance on that dual role when we finally see him. The last sort of resolution on the climax of the film was not good for me
Yeah.
at all. I thought it completely lost me. The kills weren't even very good. You know, the final kill,
Oh my god,
the cannonball.
well, Cannonball was fine, I guess. It had some connection to previously in the film and whatever, but like the fucking Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things lookalike kind of guy with the hat and the wig that fucking looked like
Oh
Samurai
god,
Cop.
yeah, what a weird
What the
addition.
fuck? What was the point of that character, first of all? And second of all, like it becomes so prevalent in the second half of the movie. You're like, okay, so what's the point with this guy? And then he just is killed by bees, like in the most unbelievable CGI
Yeah.
horrible thing. They fly through a hole in the fucking windshield.
He decides to try and shoot them from the back of the car, which opens the hole, and then they all fly into his mouth. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. These last few kills should be the highlight of the movie, but this is definitely the worst one because it's not especially gory. It's very unbelievable the way it's shot, the way it's portrayed. It feels fake. And then, yes, as you said, the last kill is a very clean, just like we only see the aftermath basically, and like there's very little gore. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it was so quick, that last kill. It was nice because I'm pretty sure most of the kills are done like with a lot of practical effects. And it's like, why would you decide to use a swarm of bees when you know you can't do that practical when everything else has looked really good, sort of probably up until that point. It was, yeah, just a bizarre decision. Takes you out of the movie. And yeah, that last kill was so quick. And we get a few more kills at the very sort of end resolution as Hal's driving back through the town with his son.
Yeah, I enjoyed the little
Yeah,
outro, I
I
guess we
quite
could
like
call it.
that bit, and then the final sort of bus kill made me chuckle at the end and sort of ended the film on quite a good note. But there was sort of a funny how the film sort of resolves because but we just to sort of spoil a bit of the plot here. We
Mhm.
have Hal when he's a young boy twists the monkey, and at this point he sort of does know what it does because it's he already assumes it's killed the nanny. His brother's bullying him really bad. He's had a bad day at school, and he decides to turn the monkey, and I think he hopes it's going to kill his brother, but it ends up killing his mum. And later on throughout the years, we learn that his brother Bill has sort of discovered this himself, and now he's come to worship the monkey, and he's found it again after they'd both buried it down this well, and he keeps twisting it, and he's basically killing loads of people around the world. And the resolution to how these two, when they finally meet again, Hal basically says, oh yes, I did accidentally kill your mum, but she was my mum too. And he's like, wow, you
Oh,
know what?
really?
I
That's
didn't even think
true.
about that, even though we're twins. And it was like, it reminded me of like the Martha moment from Batman versus Superman.
Oh my god, I had the same thought. I was like, save Martha. It's the same thing. Yeah, that's true. And he was stupid there and stupid here.
Yeah, it's such a silly resolution. It's like, that's the best you could come up with. And yeah, like I said, by that point, the film had totally lost me in my investment in it, really.
Yeah, because you have the relationship with the son that should become like emotional core of this and then like the reconnection between the two brothers should be very heartfelt, but nothing really works. It really falls flat for me. By the
Yeah.
way, spoilers. We are
What's
spoiling the whole thing.
What's the point?
So-
What's the point in trying to have that? The film does try to have a little bit of sentimentality in it at the end. And if they're like, hey, we've managed to turn the evil brother Bill away from his obsession with turning the key on the monkey. And it's like, you know what? Hey, me and my son are gonna go on a road trip. You join us and we can be a family again. And then he just fucking dies. And it's like, okay, well then if that plot line's going nowhere, it's then the son's relationship really doesn't go much anywhere even. We don't even know whether he's gonna leave and be Elijah Wood's new son because we
By
failed
the
to
way,
mention he has a little weird cameo in this film.
I guess his role was supposed to be bigger, but then it was reduced to just like one scene. Elijah Wood makes an appearance, and I just love that because he has starred in the biggest movie trilogy ever made. And then he went on to do a bunch of indie Grimehouse movies, low budget horror, strange projects. Like him and Daniel Radcliffe are the fucking goats. Like honestly, like they put these movies on the map just by being in them. And I think, Guns Akimbo with Daniel Radcliffe with
Oh my
fucking
god, that was awful.
Yeah, it was awful,
I
but like
hated
you
that
kind of
movie.
love the fact that he made that movie. It's so fucking ridiculous.
No,
Like I don't know,
I'm
like
with you.
it's
I appreciate the artistic decisions those two have made since they're sort of, you know, those roles that they'll always be remembered for. And I mean I like Elijah Wood pretty much in everything I've ever seen him in. I think if you cast him well, he's great. You know, he obviously plays a great weirdo. Yeah, he was very funny in this film too.
yeah. That's the scene. You're finally understanding what the tone of the movie is going to be. It's like a farce,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
And you have this scene about the, like, I guess the son's, where is he gonna go? What's gonna happen with the son? If he's gonna stay with the mother and this new boyfriend, Elijah Wood's character, or is he gonna go with the weirdo father who doesn't want him in his life because he's afraid to kill him? Also, we failed to mention, really love the real estate agent death. That was fun. The whole sequence in the
The
house.
shotgun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good because yeah, he gets absolutely caked, and I like that moment. I think it's in the trailer as well, where he takes off his glasses and he's literally like head to toe caked in blood and guts. Yeah, like as we mentioned, I thought the first half of the film was actually really good, and I was thoroughly enjoying the whole film, was finding it like a fresh twist on that sort of Final Destination type premise with with some, like I said, some great visuals in it. It just really faltered at the end and sort of brought that score down. But yeah, so if you had to give it a score, what would you give this one?
I guess 5.5 out of 10, 6 minus.
Yeah, that's fair. I'd probably give it maybe a 6. I just thought, yeah, visually there was some really great shots in it, which
Oh, absolutely.
have stuck in
Yeah.
my head.
But the story is just so poor, in my opinion. Like it's just
Yeah.
nothing. Like the story doesn't leave you with anything. It's about grief and it's about sin and it's about it's I don't know how to describe it. It felt too self-aware at times, and then at times it felt completely oblivious to what it was doing or saying. Which it's another way of saying it had a conflicting tone, which is what I've been saying for the past half hour. So I guess that's the final verdict. It's a mixed bag, and so it gets a 5 because that's exactly in the middle. So
Yeah, that is very fair. And I think, people who are going into this expecting it to be just a straight up horror, I mean, I don't really I don't really know how, if you then, I guess maybe you didn't watch the trailer, but I think the trailer definitely sells you on that comedic tone.
yeah,
But I think for me personally, I would have preferred to see a more horror focused version of this story, because the bits with the monkey had some genuine tension in it, and the gore could still be fun, but you could have a bit more of a serious take on this, even though it is a very silly premise. And I think that I would have preferred that version of the story.
absolutely agreed.
Everything okay up there?
Yeah, everything's fine.